Hello and welcome to today's lesson. We are going to talk about some advanced flying vocabulary. And the first thing I want to say is that this vocabulary is very specific. It's all about travel. Now, if you are someone who flies often, then you may not think, well, oh, this is not that advanced. I've heard these words and phrases before, and I think that's great. And then in that case, you'll just get a little review. But I say they're advanced because, some people fly a lot, others don't fly very often. But if you get on an airplane, you go to the airport, this is vocabulary that I think is useful and you may come across from time to time. And I also want to let you know that if you would like to get a copy of the lesson notes, these notes right here, then check out the link down in the description. You can join our email community and you can access the notes, and from time to time I will send you notes. If you're already a part of the community, check your inbox. I have sent them to you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And let's begin. This is an interactive quiz, so I want you to participate. Let's start out with talking about the airplane, different parts, different areas of a plane. And I'll show you the picture and let you know, give you information, the definition down there. And I want you to write your answer in the chat, in the comments. I want you to participate in the lesson. That's what it's all about. This is active learning. So, what would you call the compartment for the pilot in an aircraft? There are actually, a couple of different words or phrases that you could use. I think this part we'll start out a little easier, and then it'll get a little more challenging as we go through this. So the compartment for the pilot in an aircraft is called the cockpit. Or you could say flight deck. Either one of those works. Great job, SSI. Excellent. Great to see you. Fatty Acid, Sletvana, Lazaro. Excellent. So I'll give a few shout outs here and there as we go through this. So you could say either the cockpit or refer to it as the flight deck. If you are flying on an airplane and they make an announcement, the flight attendants, you may hear them use flight deck and they say that phrase. The next one. If you're on a plane, I'm sure you've seen this part of the plane before. Not many of you may not have been in the cockpit, but if we're talking about the section of an aircraft, of a plane, where the passengers travel, what would you call that section? This section right here. You get on the plane, you go find your seat, you sit down, but that whole area, that section, is referred to as what? I feel like some of you probably fly quite often. You're like, oh, I know these. You're gonna pass this quiz with flying colors. But like I said, it's always good to get review, and I think there probably will, even if you fly a lot, there's going to be something new today. At least that's my hope. So as many of you have said in the chat, you would call this the cabin. So the area where people sit, where the passengers travel, they will call this the cabin. And you will, when you get on the plane, they'll make an announcement. You will definitely hear this word. Well done, Julia, Angela, excellent. The next one, how about this right here? I know we're in the cabin, but I'm really referring to this place above the seats where you can store luggage. You have your bag, you put it up there, and then you can close it. What, excuse me. What would you call this? It actually has a few different names, and I'll accept all of them. So, what would you say? Then again, I think this is useful. You're on a plane. People are going to talk about this. So one of the key words in here would be overhead. So you're going to use overhead, and then I would follow it with either, well, one of three words. But they would say overhead because it is. It is over your head where you're sitting. So the answer is, well, I told you one of three. You guys, I think you guys got it. So you could say the overhead compartment. I know a lot of people, I just saw you putting in compartment there. Sorry, excuse me. Overhead bins or even overhead storage. All right. Either any one of those phrases works. And this is something that I was traveling yesterday with my wife, and we were talking about hopefully there's enough room by the time we board the plane, hopefully there's enough room in the overhead compartment so we can put our bags up there. Excellent. Great job. Vicky, Gustav, good to see you. Nice. The next one. Okay. How about this place right here? This area of the plane, which is the compartment of an aircraft where food is cooked or prepared. And honestly, I don't know how much cooking is actually done. I think the food is like heated up, but yeah, you could say it's cooked, it's prepared. A lot of times you'll find the flight attendants in this compartment. What part of the plane? It has a name. And again, if you fly quite often, I'm sure you've heard this. You maybe even use it in conversations if you're on an airplane, or maybe not. I don't know. But excellent. It seems like I see some good answers. You would refer to this as the galley. This is the galley. Great job, School Photo Video. Ravi, nice. Mate, perfect. How about this next one? I don't know. Do I have another picture? Or are we moving on to a different part of this? Yes, this is I think the last part of this, this part of the quiz, and then we'll look at something else. I have a little bit of a story to tell you, and we'll do some fill in the blanks. But how about this right here? These are seats directly behind the interior dividing wall that separates cabins. So there are different cabins when you board the plane. You have, economy or first class. And there may be this dividing wall. Now the seats right next to the dividing wall, right here, what would you refer to these seats as? And there's really, I don't want to give it away. And this is a part of the plane, to be honest. I've heard some people enjoy sitting here at these seats right here. I don't really like it. The answer is not the aisle, because there are many aisle seats on a plane. These specifically that are behind that dividing wall. That's that area. What kind of seats would you call those? Write your answers in the chat, in the comments. I just want you to participate, practice, build your vocabulary. So the seats right here, the dividing wall, is called the bulkhead. Great job, Ravi. Nice. So the seats would be like, it's bulkhead seating. So if I were sitting in this seat and somebody were asking me, oh, how was your flight? Where did you sit? And I was like, yeah, it was a bulkhead. Then that basically means those are the seats that are right behind that dividing wall. So that wall, that dividing interior wall, is called, that is the bulkhead. So if we're talking about the seats, you could say bulkhead seating, or some people might just say bulkhead. But just keep that in mind. There are different, there may be several different dividing walls, several bulkheads on the plane. Depends how large it is. So now I want you to complete the sentence. I'm actually going to tell you a story. We were traveling, I don't want to say yesterday, maybe it was 2 days ago. It was a long flight. And the first part of this, and as we go through, these are all different words and phrases related to flying. Yesterday, or I guess I could say maybe 2 days ago. Again, it's all blurring together. Yesterday, we took an flight from San Francisco to Budapest. It's a true story. Now, there are different words that you could fill in there. And there's really one specific that I'm looking for. And the picture, it's a little bit of a hint. Another hint there is that article, an. So that tells you that the next word begins with a vowel sound. And I told you there are several words that you could fill in there. So there are quite a few answers that you could put in there, but you'll see where I'm going with this when I show you what the answer that I'm looking for. Yesterday we took an flight from San Francisco to Budapest. I see a lot of people saying international. That is true. That works. It is an international flight, but that's not what I'm going for. Some people said direct flight. Actually, I wish that it were a direct flight. It was not a direct flight, but you could say maybe an indirect flight. But that's also not the answer I was looking for. I heard some people put in a red eye. Yes, but what I was actually going for was an overnight flight. So an overnight flight, this is also informally called a red eye. So we took an overnight flight, and I tried to give you a picture. You see that it's dark outside. We took an overnight flight from San Francisco to Budapest. Again, true story. This is a flight that it departs at night and arrives the next day. It's an overnight flight, pretty much means what it says, but informally, and I think this is actually more common in the United States, people may refer to this as a red eye. That you fly overnight, you get in the next morning, you arrive at your destination, and you are on the red eye. And they call it this because if you don't sleep much, maybe your eyes can be a little red, and that's why they would call these flights a red eye. So yesterday, that's true. We took an overnight flight from San Francisco to Budapest. Now, our flight from San Francisco to Budapest, it was not a direct flight. It was an indirect flight. And we had to Frankfurt. What phrase are you going to use? I've gone ahead and told you that this is a phrasal verb. We had to Frankfurt. What do you think? So this is a phrasal verb that you would use when you're flying. It's not a direct flight. And what would you use? I see some good answers. So I know what you mean, transfer. If you're actually going to use transfer, that's not a phrasal verb. You would need to follow it with a particle. And you would use it. You could say transfer, but you need to follow it with another particle. Stopover, no. I see some people layover, no. So the phrasal verb that we're talking about, because that would complete the sentence. Now, of course, I could say we had to stop in Frankfurt, but that's not what I'm looking for. So the phrasal verb that I'm talking about is, wow, it's right. Nobody got it. Connect through. So we were connecting through Frankfurt. Some people put transfer. That would work, but again, you would want to use through as well. You're going to transfer through Frankfurt. Actually flying, and this may be more American English, I'd say it's probably a little more common to say connect through instead of transfer through. Both of them would work, but if you connect through, this is when you change from one plane to another in order to continue your journey. Now, sometimes people may not always change planes. Overwhelmingly, they do. And you stop in one city, you change to another plane, and you are connecting through that city. So our flight from San Francisco to Budapest was not a direct flight. We had to connect through Frankfurt. The next part, and this is also true, we experience some which always makes me feel a little uneasy. And you can see in the picture there, I tried to find something that was, well, I don't know, related to this vocabulary. And I think when you're flying, this is something that's pretty common. And you experience this while flying. And when this happens, yeah, it can make me feel a little uneasy. What word? I give it is one word. What word are we looking for? Great job, Sam. SI, Taras. We're talking about turbulence. And once again, you're on a plane. You hear these announcements. This is a word. Listen for it. You experience turbulence. This is when I give you the meaning down here. These are abrupt, caused by abrupt, irregular movements of air that create sharp, quick updrafts and downdrafts. So basically, the plane is just shaking, and there is some turbulence. And sometimes it's pretty mild. Other times it can be intense. Actually, we had one period on the flight that, it lasted for like 20, 25 minutes. And it was a little intense. So we experienced some turbulence, and I felt a little uneasy. Now, while in Frankfurt, we had a 3-hour. You can see these people sitting there on those chairs, kind of just chilling out. And again, this is true. I'm kind of using these words and phrases to talk about my flying experience from San Francisco to Budapest. So as you can tell, yes, I'm back in Hungary. We're back home, and I'm still maybe take another week before we get back onto our regular schedule. We don't often have these Friday lessons, but while in Frankfurt, we had a 3-hour what? And I'm going to actually talk about 2 different words and talk a little bit about the difference. So, well done, Julia Allen. We're talking about a layover. While in Frankfurt, we had a 3-hour layover. So a layover is a period of rest or waiting before a further stage in a journey. And you could use a layover when talking about any type of travel, whether it's planes or trains, it doesn't really matter. You just have this waiting period and then you continue. I think overwhelmingly people use it when talking about flying. Now, some of you had put in stopover. So there is a difference between layover and stopover. And let's talk about that right now. Layover versus stopover. So the main difference is that really just the length of time. So you can see right there it says stopover rules vary by airline, but are essentially longer layovers, at least 24 hours in length. Layovers, meanwhile, are connections less than a day in length depending on if you're flying domestically or internationally. So generally, I think most of the time people are going to have a layover if they are connecting through, one or more cities. A stopover is a longer period of time. Sometimes I think if you have a stopover, you may go into the city, do some sightseeing, and then you come back to the airport because it is longer. It's a day, could be 2 days, and some people like to travel this way. But just keep in mind, yes, there is a slight difference between layover and stopover. Most of the time, you're going to talk about layover, a 2-hour layover, 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour layover. So when we were traveling, we were really tired. We were really tired, especially because we were lugging around several bags. To lug something is you're carrying something and it's kind of difficult, and you would say you're lugging this around. A lot of times people use this verb when talking about suitcases because they're heavy. So we were really tired, especially because we were lugging around several bags. So I want you to think, you can see this bag right here. When you're traveling, what the bags that you take with you, what would you call those bags? Kind of telling you right now. What would you call those bags? Generally, I think each person can bring one. Some airlines let you bring more, or it depends on the status you have with the airline. And I see a lot of people know this one where I'm talking about, yes, the carry-on bags. So the carry-on bags, the ones that you would take with you on the plane. We each had one. I had one, my wife, Emmy, and we also had 3 personal bags. And also traveling with Emmy, it's a little challenging. So we were having to carry her at certain points as well. But a carry-on is the luggage that can be brought on board the plane and stowed in the cabin. You put these up in the overhead compartment or the overhead bins, your carry-on bag. Well done. All right, and now this one, I think I saw this in the chat before. Because of the time difference, we have serious, and this is I feel like this right now because it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I am exhausted. I could probably go to sleep right now, but I need to fight through it, stay up, and try to get used to the time now because there's a big time difference. I think 9 hours between San Francisco and Budapest. And because of that, right now I have, yes, jet lag. Great job, Whitney, Sam, Julia, Larry, perfect. So jet lag is extreme tiredness, could have other physical effects felt by a person after a long flight across different time zones. So we have like a 9-hour difference this morning. Actually, it wasn't too bad. I woke up at, I think, 5:30 in the morning. Hopefully tomorrow, I don't know. I'm expecting I'll probably get up around 4 or 5. We'll see. I'm going to bed early, but I'm going to try to stay up, and hopefully this won't last maybe more than a couple of days, few days. We'll see. Now, let's talk about if you're at the airport. I'm going to show you a picture, and I just want you to tell me, what is it? What are we looking at? So here's your first one. I think these some of these are easy. Some of them are a little more difficult. So at an airport, these are not carry-on bags. You might check your bag, and it goes under the plane or under the cabin. And then you're going to pick up the bag where? Where would you go pick up this bag? What would you call that area? This is a phrase that you will see on signs throughout the airport if you are trying to pick up your luggage. Now, I heard a luggage carousel. That is what this machine, this conveyor belt would be called. What would you call that area? So that conveyor belt would be like, yes, a luggage carousel. But in general, you're going to ask somebody, hey, where is what? This part of the airport. So as in I think, luggage carousel, that works, but I was looking for kind of that area. Nice. We're talking about baggage claim. So baggage claim is the place in the airport where you get your cases and bags when you arrive after flying. But in case you didn't know, that is where the bags go around. That is the luggage carousel. But you'll see signs for baggage claim. How about this right here? What would you call, and I'm specifically talking about the light blue, I don't want to give it away, ramp. What would you call that you would use that either to board the plane or disembark when you get off the plane? And you may use those. I know I definitely use them here when we fly in and out of Budapest. But there are a couple of different words that you could use. I think it has a couple of different names. But what would you say? What is that right there? Write your answer in the chat or even in the comments. I just want you to participate, get involved in the lesson. See some comment, where's my passport? I don't know. It's a good question. I know I have mine. I made sure to really keep up with that yesterday. So this right here, this ramp that passengers would use to either board the plane or when they're disembarking, you could call that the gangway or the jetway, this walkway or platform that provides safe access to the plane, the gangway or the jetway. So maybe this, I don't know, if this is new for you, that's great. If you learn something new today, that's all that I hope for. Here's an easier one. That strip right here that runs all the way from the bottom of the picture all the way to the top. What is that called? That you see the plane on there. It's getting ready to go down the what? I think you guys know this, but it is another. If we're at the airport, yes, you will see these. If you're flying on the plane's going to go down the. The answer, I'll just go ahead and give it to you because I think you guys know it, is the runway. Well done. Hari, Julia, Asai, Suma. Perfect. So the runway is this hard level roadway and other surface from which the aircraft take off and on which they land. That is the runway. Now, something else this may be a little more difficult. We'll see. But this picture right here, what would you call the ground here? So the runway is where the plane goes and then it's going to take off. What about the ground here in this picture? So I'm not talking about the terminal right there and the gates, and you can see those other jetways that go across and connect to the airplanes. I'm talking about the ground, where these planes are parked. What would you call that? This is a little more difficult. It's not a word or phrase that you may need to know, but again, the goal is to learn something new. Remember, I'm not talking about the terminal there, the building that you see. I'm talking about the ground, that paved ground. And there are actually a couple of different answers. All right, I see it's good. So in general, I think what it's commonly called, especially in the U.S., even though it may not be, is the tarmac. It's like the parking lot for airplanes. So this is the area of an airport where airplanes taxi. That is a verb that you could use to taxi, is when the plane, it starts to take off. And the plane is leaving from the gate, going out to the runway in order to take off. So you would call this the tarmac, where, think of it as, like I said, the parking lot for airplanes. Well done, Vicky, Gustav, nice. I said taxiway. I think maybe that would work. I haven't really heard that much. I feel like taxiing is used more as a verb, that the plane is getting ready to taxi. The one thing I wanted to say, because I saw one answer in there, ramp. Ramp would also work because this part is also called like the apron, the airport apron or the airport ramp. And something that you may or may not know, I actually didn't know this. It says an airport apron or ramp is sometimes incorrectly referred to as the tarmac, which basically means any paved surface, including the runway, landing strip, airstrip, and taxiway. Oh, there it is, taxiway. All right. The apron at airports are often paved with concrete, not tarmac. So even though it's called, many people will call it the tarmac, I would, that the airport apron's mostly concrete or asphalt. Tarmac, it comes from that there was tar used in making that ground. A lot of the way the roadways have it in there, I think it just makes it a little more rain resistant. So that's why it says it's incorrectly referred to as the tarmac, because most of the time at the airports they don't use tar when they are making those runways. But again, at this point, like I said, most of the time people are going to refer to that area, that airport parking lot, as the tarmac. Okay, so hopefully this made sense. Personally, I've actually never used apron before, the airport apron. I might say ramp, and somebody else had mentioned taxiway. Yes, that works as well. So here is a little review. These are the different words and phrases that we were talking about in this lesson. A lot of different vocabulary, all related to flying. Again, I said it's advanced vocabulary, but if you are somebody who flies often, maybe it didn't feel too advanced to you, and I completely understand. But I would like to know how you did on the quiz. So I started this little poll. I'm always curious to see how you guys performed on this. It lets me know if I should probably make it a little more difficult or maybe even a little easier in the future. And if you enjoyed the lesson and learned something new, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button. It tells me that you enjoy these interactive quiz. Well, not too many of you, seems like, just by looking at the results, not too many of you rocked it. And some of these were definitely a little more difficult than others. For example, talking about the gangway or the jetway or the tarmac or the galley, the part of the plane. Those can be a little more challenging. But in general, it seems like a lot of you did really well. I really appreciate you guys being here with me today. I apologize for the inconsistencies with the days and the times. It's only because of the travel. And in the coming weeks, we're going to get back to the regular Wednesday lessons. I don't know if we'll do it next week. I may have it Thursday just to space things out. We'll see, but I'll make an announcement and let you guys know. But I hope that you enjoyed the lesson, learned something new, and of course, we'll see you guys again in the future. Thank you for joining me. And just some last minute shout outs. Vicky, Gustav, great to see you. SSI, nice. Talal, Julia, Sam, Angela, Curlin, thank you. Hope you guys enjoy the upcoming weekend. And of course, I will see you again.